Hi, I'm Dr. Juncfood and welcome to this short tutorial on your brain on anxiety and stress. It is essential to know how our brain responds to the stimuli which trigger an anxiety response so that you are equipped to deal appropriately with anxiety. Let me highlight the key areas of your brain that are involved, and then I will explain what happens inside the brain. The thalamus is the central hub for sights and sounds. The thalamus breaks down incoming visual cues by size, shape and colour, and auditory cues by volume and dissonance, and then signals the cortex. The cortex then gives raw sights and sounds meaning, enabling you to be conscious of what you are seeing and hearing. And I'll mention here that the prefrontal cortex is vital to turning off the anxiety response once the threat has passed. The amygdala is the emotional core of the brain, whose primary role is to trigger the fear response. Information passing through the amygdala is associated with an emotional significance. The bed nucleus of the stria terminals is particularly interesting when we discuss anxiety. While the amygdala sets off an immediate burst of fear, the BRST perpetuates the fear response, causing longer-term unease typical of anxiety. The locus coeruleus receives signals from the amygdala and initiates the classic anxiety response: rapid heartbeat, increased blood pressure, sweating, and pupil dilation. The hippocampus is your memory center, storing raw information from the senses, along with emotional baggage attached to the data by the amygdala. Now we know these key parts. What happens when we are anxious, stressed, or fearful? Anxiety, stress, and of course fear are triggered primarily through your senses. Sight and sound are first processed by the thalamus, filtering incoming cues and sent directly to the amygdala or to the cortex. Smell and touch go directly to the amygdala, bypassing the thalamus altogether. This is why smells often evoke very powerful memories or feelings. Any cues from your incoming senses that are associated with a threat in the amygdala, whether that threat is real or not, current or not, are immediately processed to trigger the fear response. This is the expressway. It happens before you consciously feel the fear. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland cause the adrenal glands to pump out high levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Too much cortisol short-circuits the cells of the hippocampus, making it difficult to organize the memory of a trauma or a stressful experience. Memories lose context and become fragmented. The body's sympathetic nervous system shifts into overdrive, causing the heart to beat faster, blood pressure to rise, and lungs to hyperventilate. Perspiration increases and the skin's nerve endings tingle, causing goosebumps. Your senses become hyper-alert, freezing you momentarily as you drink in every detail. Adrenaline floods to the muscles, preparing you to fight or run away. The brain shifts focus from digestion to focus on the potential dangers, sometimes causing evacuation of the digestive tract through urination, defecation, or vomiting. Heck, if you're about to be eaten as someone else's dinner, why bother digesting your own? Only after the fear response has been activated does the conscious mind kick in. Some sensory information takes a more thoughtful route from the thalamus to the cortex. The cortex decides whether the sensory information warrants a fear response. If the fear is a genuine threat in space and time, the cortex signals the amygdala to continue being on alert. Fear is a good, useful response essential to survival. However, anxiety is a fear of something that cannot be located in space and time. Most often, it is that indefinable something triggered initially by something real that you sense, but that in itself is not threatening, but it is associated with a fearful memory. And the bed nucleus of the stria terminals perpetuate that fear response. Anxiety is a real fear response for the individual feeling anxious, and anxiety can be debilitating for the sufferer. Now that you know how anxiety happens in your brain, we can pay attention to how we can deliberately use our prefrontal cortex to turn off an inappropriate anxiety response once a threat has passed.
What is happening to humanity? For over 4 million years, since Homo erectus appeared on the face of the earth, humanity has not seen an obesity epidemic like the one we suffer today. Today, children weigh 5 kilos more than they did 30 years ago. In 1990, 32 million children under the age of 5 were overweight. By 2013, there were 42 million, and by 2025, there will be 70 million overweight children. So why are more and more people overweight? Because they're eating an abundance of sugary, fatty, and salty junk foods. For example, a child by her 8th birthday has already eaten as much sugar as her grandfather did during his entire lifetime. Our unhealthy diets not only make us overweight and obese, they also create an epidemic of disease. Today, diet-related diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and some cancers now claim more than 11 million lives a year. Junk foods are processed in thousands of ways, and children consume them without remorse. Additives of all flavors, colors, and shapes have become their addiction and everyday fare. Wrapped in fluorescent packaging and labels, covered with misleading, enticing slogans, it's difficult for consumers to read and understand the real ingredients in these products. On top of all this, advertising for these processed foods bombards children's noses, ears, and eyes, ultimately winning them over. Who wants the new toy? Just eat. Who is enticed by the new packaging? Just eat. Who wants to try the exotic new flavor? Just eat. And even if children wanted to run away and embrace healthy food, they can't. Junk food controls our schools, a place where there should only be healthy foods and drinks. But only some countries have achieved this. Haven't we had enough excess in this obese world? As citizens, we demand many things. Healthier food with less fat, sugar, and salt. Nutritional labels that adults and children can easily understand. Healthy food and free drinking water in schools. And a ban on junk food marketing to children. We must win the battle against malnutrition and obesity. We can do this in our own homes, but we will not succeed unless we work together to promote a global agreement to protect and promote healthy eating and to free our children from the obesogenic environment that surrounds us. This agreement can lead our governments to design, implement, evaluate, and improve public policies to benefit people's health around the world. Help us get back on a healthy path.
呢一節咧就一節新鮮嘅肺氣管啦，佢咧你會發覺佢裏邊係潔白無瑕嘅，你幾新鮮，係咪？好啦，咁而家咧我再將呢條氣管睇個氣管先，我哋將條氣管咧展開佢咯喎，咁睇下咧你見到啲咩現象咯喎嚇。但係呢個部位咧，因為包住咗正話一條喉啊，所以就都係冇被污染到啦。但係呢一個位置咧，就已經咧俾嗰啲焦油咧就分黑咗， 所以你會見到咧已經食煙啲人嘅喉嚨係咁樣，都可以話係嘅。係啊，所以有啲人食煙覺得喉嚨咁乾涸啊，成日好似鹹上頸咁樣咧，就係呢一啲咁嘅呢啲咁嘅嘢啦。OK， 嗱咁你一回事啦，就會係嗱。有冇做手術清理翻？有冇得做手術清理翻？如果嗱呢個豬肺我要洗佢嘅話，我灌水捽佢甩翻出嚟咯。但問下你哋啦，你哋個肺可唔可以灌水啊？唔可以灌水係咪先？即係冇得清咯。嗱。你見到有兩個窿嘅，即係兩條支氣管啦。而家咧我就沿住呢條支氣管一路剪落去 ，OK？ 嗱，沿住一路剪落去。呢一個咧係大概60支煙個效果。睇到新鮮嘅豬肺，新鮮嘅。呢個咧就係食咗60支煙嘅豬肺，咁你可以拍埋一拼咧。你見到個效果就會好大分別啦。見到個肺分別。OK， 嗱呢一條氣管分別就係咁樣啦。同埋反轉去睇下咯喎，呢邊咧比較鮮紅啲嘅，但係你睇翻呢一個位置咧，拼埋落去，你就見到個分別就係咁嘅一回事啦。甚至乎呢一忽最啡色嘅，一拍落去咧，你就見到個效果啦。